So, you fancy yourself a lovely little joyride on the back of one of our beefy friends here, but either don't know where to begin or wish to circumvent the absurdity that is taming a beef. Well, I'm here to say that I can help with at least one of those things, as there isn't really a way past the other, unfortunately. You see, no matter how you approach it, the domestication process is incredibly time consuming and a heavy strain on your personal resources. But that's why Beardo is here to break it down for you. To begin, it all boils down to three main stats: domestication itself, which is just the actual progression of domesticating the animal or not; obedience, a stat that leads to whether or not the player can saddle the beefalo; and tendency, the culmination of a domesticated beefalo's final stats. It might sound complicated, but don't fret. Let's break it down one at a time. To begin domestication, it's as simple as feeding any beefalo a single grass, twig, etc. But you can do more, of course. Now, that hunger level is important, as during this whole process, your beefalo will gain 0.1% domestication every 10 seconds, as long as hunger is above 0, but it will lose 0.52% otherwise. If you don't pay attention, you can lose domestication quickly, so be sure to never attack your beefalo to avoid a 30% decrease in domestication instantly, or to overfeed it, as that will also lead to a decrease in domestication. But speaking of foodies, a beefalo will lose an insane 300 hunger out of 375 per day, meaning you have to shove buttloads of food into their faces. However, there is the option of not using food at all and choosing resources instead. Personally, going solely this route is a stupid idea, but if you wish to, you will need to feed your beefalo a total of either 32 twigs, 64 cut grass, or 64 cut reeds every single day in order for it to never reach starvation levels. Yikes. But how does that math calculate when it comes to actual food? Well, not sure if it's much better actually, as you'll need at least 4 dragon pies, a set of 12 ratatouilles, or perhaps even 8 fistfuls of jam, which equates to 32 total berries every day. Remember how I said this would be a strain on resources? But there are tools of the trade that can help us out, like the brush here under the Tools tab. Heck, some of you may not even know that this was a thing, let alone how to be frickin' making the dang thing, for crying out loud. It uses something called a steel wool, which we will touch on soon. The coveted walrus tusk that we should all bloody know about by now, and then just 2 gold to top it off. But what the heck is steel wool? Well, you need to head on a hunt through suspicious dirt piles and have a 50% chance to run into one of these beauties, a Eucus. Now, he can look stupid, but he ain't messing around, as he has a mucus attack that completely freezes the player, allowing the dang thing to constantly bash you in the dang face. Fighting these things solo sucks, but once you kill it, you'll find that steel wool we were looking for. But is it worth waiting until during or after winter for a brush? Well, yes actually, as brushing a beefalo will increase domestication by 1.7% and can be done once per day. Plus, you also get 1 wool for yourself without having to shave the entire beef. So now, the fastest domestication process can be done through brushing the beef every day for about 15 days, while doing your best to never have that hunger hit 0. Plus, while not counting riding, the beast. But be careful of overfeeding too. Do not feed the beefalo anymore after it farts. Yes, you heard right. When the beefalo toots, no more fruits. But what about riding them? Isn't that the whole point of taming beef? I don't seem to have an option to mount them. Well, that's because you don't have a saddle, silly. Under tools once more, go ahead and craft the basic one first. Now, obedience will constantly fall at a rate of 50% per day, but brushing can increase it by 40%, while feeding adds an additional 10% to the mix. Overfeeding leads to a 30% drop, while starving will be a 100% loss of obedience. If the player shaves the beef or attacks it even on accident, that's another 100% loss. But one can saddle a beef at 10%, but can only ride it at 50 and above. Note that a beef will shake off the saddle below 40% obedience as well. But once you saddle up, enjoy your joy rides as a man has conquered beast once again. Or so you think. The beefalo will actually buck you off come a certain amount of time, starting at 50 seconds at 0 domestication to nearly 2 full days of riding at full domestication. So let us remember to feed it every day, brush it every day, and ride it every day in order to continue the progression towards full domestication. But it's time to talk tendencies, starting with the ordinary tendency here. As you can see, he's looking a bit more miffed off than our default friend here, and that's because he's a fighter. In order to have your beefalo end up with this tendency, you'll need to go around picking fights on the back of your steed. It could be the little stuff like spiders and their nests, or some heavier fights like the hentai nightmares. Now, it may seem like you're taking damage, but that's actually your beef, so don't worry. But as you can see, our beefalo is already showing signs of the ordinary tendency, so keep it up. Then there's the rider tendency, which is easily the easiest to do without even realizing it, as you get it just by riding your beefalo often. The fastest of the bunch, it will also come with a minimum obedience of 95 once fully domesticated, which is very nice. And finally, the pudgy tendency, aka the chubster. If you keep hunger above 50% throughout most, if not the entire process, or just overfeeding the dank thing all the time, you'll end up with a fat beef. The slowest of the beefs, it does come with a trait that's honestly pretty amazing, all things considered. He will bring a sanity aura of 6.25 per minute for the player, trailing only the Tam O'Shanter in reasonable sanity regeneration. Now that's frickin' nuts. But as we wait for this grueling process to be done with, let's talk over saddles, like the war saddle here. It will see a drop in the movement speed that the normal saddle gives, but it comes with a damage increase of 16 per hit. That, paired with an ordinary beefalo, means just about 66 damage per hit. And with the increase in attack speeds from beef, that is not too shabby. Plus, it looks sweet as well. Then there's the Glossamer saddle that uses the easily obtainable and not ridiculously numbered amount of 2 living logs, 4 silk, and a measly 68 butterfly wings. Wait, excuse me? 68 butterfly wings? Well, looks like the monarchs aren't migrating this year. They'll be on the endangered species list instead. but destroy nature for your own pleasure once again and gain a 55% movement speed increase, and oh boy, it's noticeable, especially paired with a rider Beefalo tendency. But what are the benefits of having a tamed beef? Well, for one, you no longer have to have back surgery after carrying these statues across the world, as beefs can completely eliminate the movement penalties. So get moving. You get a beef friend that looks better and unique when compared to the other plebs over yonder. Oh, and the beef can emote right alongside ya. So what can be better than that? I'll tell ya, nothing. But a couple last things to note. Some enemies can still target you on the back of the beef. So be mindful and pay attention to your health regardless of what you are fighting. Beef gain 4 times the health value of whatever you feed them. So a dragon pie heals them for nearly 150 health in one go. Oh, and your domesticated beef isn't impacted by mating season, as it ain't got time for that crap. And you'll be A-OK too, as long as you stay on its back, even without a Beefalo hat. There you have it, everyone. A guide on Beefalo taming, and don't starve together. I'm sorry if you expected Beardo to have some mystical powers and ideas to make this easier, but there is no easy way around taming these hairy dudes. Whatever the case, I hope this helped regardless. I wish you well on your journey to conquer the beasts and have fun creating a Beefalo riding posse with your pals. Take care, folks. I'll see you in the next one. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Bye-bye.